Hey, 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 Nikki Brown here. No matter where you are, no matter what part of the world you're in, I hope that you're having a good day. It's a little after 2:20 a.m. on my birthday, and I'm hoping that the groundhog does not see its shadow. And I know a lot of people don't believe in it, or they um, think it's a myth. But either way, I am ready for the spring so that we can have some warmer weather. I don't necessarily celebrate birthdays, but I have begun to celebrate me and the transitions I've made um, to become the best version of myself. Um, the best example of all of my best advice. And it's not about being perfect. Sometimes people say, oh, everybody can be like you, or nobody's perfect. And it's not about that. It's about the individual becoming their best version and acknowledging that we all come from one source. We are one. Um, I often say this, that Russell Simmons mentioned that if you take a cup and you dip it into the ocean, it's like each individual is like a cup of God, right? Because we're made in the image of, right? Source, creation, Mother, Father, Creator, Divine. Most High. Some people say God, some people say Jehovah, some people say Yahweh, some people say Yeshua, some people say Jehovah, Allah, Buddha. I feel like that's less important, but I know that some people feel like, oh, well, this is what I learned in this religious place growing up, and so if people don't think or believe in what I believe in, then they're wrong. And I think that that is a wrong way of thinking. And that's not to judge or criticize somebody, because the people who think that are actually judging and criticizing, and that's not something that we're supposed to do, right? That's not what we're here for. We're actually here to learn from one another, because our differences make us who we are, and our differences is what started racism. So then you're no better than the people who are racist, right? But again, I'm sure that goes over a lot of people's heads. They don't understand because they can't make sense of what I'm saying. And again, this is not me picking on anybody, but this is just me shedding light and saying that I am thankful and I am grateful that I have an open mind. I am thankful and grateful that I was ready, willing, and able to learn about other things and not be, just stuck on one thing, one system, one, I'm not really sure how to say it at this point. I'm just glad that I'm open-minded and that I've done a lot of healing work, and we never stop healing. But in my 51 years, based on the things that I experienced in childhood, the limiting beliefs, the mental, emotional, financial, physical, verbal abuse. And a lot of people feel it's taboo to talk about certain relatives. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but a lot of people don't like to acknowledge the truth. They feel like if you acknowledge the truth, that means you're talking about someone. But sharing your story does not mean you're maliciously talking about someone, because I see talking about someone as being malicious, but if you're sharing your story and you happen to mention someone who was part of your story, I don't see that as you talking about someone. But I understand that everybody's level of comprehension as far as that is concerned is different. So again, I'm saying this as a disclaimer, and I don't even like explaining myself anymore, but I know that some people can be triggered by certain things. So I can only speak for myself and say that I am thankful and I am grateful for the things that I have learned, the things that I have healed from and continue to heal from. I am so thankful that I'm not an angry Black woman, right? I'm thankful that I'm able to be tranquil and calm. And I can actually listen to someone without being extra sensitive and emotional and getting upset because I disagree with something that someone says. I can actually have a conversation with someone, whether we agree or not. And I know that a lot of people are not able to do that. They immediately become triggered and now they have an attitude. They don't want to talk anymore, or they want to try to mistreat you because you don't agree with the things that they think or believe in. Or they want to try to vilify you or demonize you or whatever it is. And so I am just saying that I am thankful that I am not in that mindset, that I am open-minded and willing to accept the diversity that exists within the world, and willing to learn about the things that other people know. I remember back in I think 2009, yeah, when I was still earning my degree, I was actually waiting tables, and I met a young lady who was a Buddhist. That was my first time meeting someone who actually practiced Buddhism. And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is Tina Turner. But anyway, she shared some of the Buddhist principles with me and how they're able to stay calm and how you don't allow things to bother you. And I was very impressed by that. And since that time, I have become a yogi. And a lot of people, they make assumptions about you, right? They assume that they can trigger you or try to sabotage you and get you to cuss them out or put your hands on them, because they don't have an understanding. They haven't taken the time to get to know you. So they just make certain assumptions. And when they see how calm I can be, and assuming that I'm a pushover because I have the ability to remain calm, they then think I'm a pushover and that they can do or say anything until I speak my mind. But I never say it in, I don't have to be mean or nasty about it, right? I can simply be direct and blunt and say what it is and move on. And again, a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people, if you say or do something, they feel like they have to go on and on and on and keep saying the same thing over and over again. And this is one of the things that I had to overcome, because I realized that some of the women that I grew up around, if you said something one day, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, they're still bringing up the same story. And after 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you've changed. You've become a new person. And that was the old version of you, but they still keep trying to throw it back up or throw it in your face to bring you back to that space, that time of when that thing happened. Again, as if people don't change. And if you allow it, you can get sucked back in. And it's really a form of mental and emotional abuse, right? And again, a lot of people don't realize that this is what people call narcissism, right? We don't diagnose people, but if you look at the traits, you can see that some people have 1 or 2 traits and some people have 10 traits, right? And this is one huge red flag because, again, this is considered mental and emotional abuse. And so once you become aware of it, it's like, okay, I don't like this being done to me, and I don't want to do it to other people. Although some people just continue the cycle of abuse, and they say, oh, well, my so-and-so did it, so I think that it's okay, even when it's not. Because a lot of people don't take the time to think about how it made them feel the first time it happened to them, right? They just repeat the cycle. And they think that changing means that something's wrong with you, or that you're turning your back on your relatives or your friends, or they give into the who do you think you are, or you think you're better than me. And in their mind, they're like, oh, well, I don't want this person to think that I think I'm better, although they know they don't think that way, right? They're allowing someone else to think for them. They're allowing someone else to dictate how they behave, and they're not thinking for themselves, right? And I used to be that person. I thought I was thinking for myself, but I really wasn't thinking for myself. And I didn't realize how many seeds of doubt and fear and insecurity were being planted in my mind. And so I had to release a lot of that and let it go. Right? And so now at 51, right? Again, not necessarily celebrating a birthday, but celebrating myself. Right? Celebrating the challenges that I've overcome, the obstacles that I knocked down and out of the way, me getting out of my own way. Right? And again, this is not about being perfect. But I've learned so much about myself. I can honestly say I have become who I was meant to be before anything traumatic ever happened to me, right? But we always will continue to heal. It's something that, will last a lifetime, because we could go 10 years with no trigger and then come across this one person who triggers us. Now, we may respond to differently, but still there's something that's going to go on inside, right? There's this internal, it may be a feeling of anxiety. It may be a fear. It could be, just something that causes you stress. Maybe something that makes you have a headache because you're thinking and focused on it. Like, why did this happen? Why did that person say or do this, or whatever the situation is, right? And so, that's when we maybe get out our journal and start to write, or we may meditate or pray, whatever it is that you do. And we figure out how to move beyond this thing, right? But a lot of times, the people who trigger us represent someone from our past, right? There's usually a top 5, right? That top 5 could be parents, grandparents, siblings, cousins, old classmates from elementary school, high school, any number of, any combination of those. A lot of times it is our parents or our immediate family, right? Those are usually the top 2. And again, whether they represent some type of mental, emotional, verbal, financial, even a lot of people don't realize the limiting belief of money doesn't grow on trees, right? And I know that the word abuse is very triggering to people because people don't want to acknowledge it. They want to say, oh, my so-and-so loved me and they did the best that they can. And that may very well be true. But that does not mean that the words that they said did not affect you in a way that shaped your life and shaped your personality and shaped who you became as a person. Right? And so that's what this is about. Like, again, money doesn't grow on trees, so some people felt like they had to hoard money. Some people feel like, oh, I might as well just spend it because I can't take it with me. And some people did other, made other choices or other decisions that they think serve a good purpose, but don't necessarily. Right? If you have some information that you can share with someone and you hold it for yourself because you don't want someone else to make the same amount of money, or you feel like other people should just figure it out on their own or get it out of the mud or pull themselves up by their bootstraps, that's a form of financial abuse, right? Again, I understand this may be triggering. But we're not meant to be selfish, right? In that way, we are here to share, to learn from one another, to acknowledge our strengths and our weaknesses, and get help from other people who can support us on our journey and, support us and help us with those strengths, or share those strengths and get help with our weaknesses, right? Again, I understand that this may go over some people's head. There will be some people who disagree with me. There will be some people who are triggered by what I am saying, right? But I encourage you to think about what I'm saying. And if you need to do some additional research, do so. Don't just get on the phone and gossip. Let me tell you, she said so and so and so and so in her video. And I'm really not sure why we have encyclopedias and computers right in the palm of our hand. Yet a lot of people refuse to use them to do some research. All you have to do is go to Google, if you must. I mean, and I'm not saying that Google is the most reliable source. But again, I always encourage people, don't believe me, don't trust me, right? Anything that I say can be researched. Research it. Go to the library, read a book about it. There's plenty of psychology books that you can actually study and research some of these things. But again, a lot of people don't want to do that because it's cognitive dissonance. They don't want their, perception about someone or something to be changed. They don't want to have to deal with, the hurt that comes with healing. Because you do have to go through it in order to overcome it. And so on this day, I am very thankful that I have gone through a lot of the things that I've gone through. And I'm willing to put myself first, which a lot of people see as being selfish, right? But I'm not accepting of the abuse anymore from anyone. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, you have to do this and you have to do that. But that's not true. We all have free will, and we can do whatever it is that we want to do. Now, whether there's consequences to us doing what we want to do is, is a different story. And some people are willing to deal with whatever the consequences are. But I'm not going to say it's easy. It's definitely not easy, right? And there's a lot to discover. Again, certain things that, someone may say something and it sounds like it's in your best interest. And then you realize they were really doing it for their own best interest. Let's say, for example, you have a relative who never graduated from high school and you go to college. They may say, oh, you going to college? What are you doing that for? Are you doing that again? Or you still trying to, go to school? You need to get you a job. You need to just focus on work. Because that person is not happy for you. They want you to stay on the same level that they're on. But they think by saying, oh, well, it's better if you get a job because you have the so-and-so to do and so-and-so to pay for, and I'll help you pay for it. But it don't make no sense for you to go to school. This is just one example. Again, this person may think that they're telling you something that's in your best interest. Like, it makes no sense to go to school. You should just get a job. But again, they don't want you to be better than them. This is their fear, their insecurity, because they didn't accomplish that goal. They don't want you to accomplish it. But then you have some people who are happy, they're happy for you. Like, oh, that's great. And they're proud to talk about it and share it with other people. Right? They may go to work and say, oh, my son or my daughter is, in nursing school, and I'm so proud of them. And they show up to the graduation and they bring flowers and they, whatever. But then you have that, the one that's telling you you shouldn't do those things. They may or may not show up to the graduation. They may come up with some excuse as to why they can't come to the graduation. Or they may show up and they may appear to be genuinely happy for you, but deep down they're really hating on you, and they're wishing that you hadn't accomplished that goal because they tried to steer you away from the path. And in today's economy, the market is oversaturated with people who have degrees. So they may say something along the lines of, oh, well, you got a degree, but you still can't get no good paying job. They may say something like that. Again, to belittle you and make you feel like they feel, because they're comparing themselves to you, or they're in secret competition with you. And so they want you to feel how they feel, which is inadequate and less than, because they haven't accomplished the goals that you have accomplished. They may not even have that same mindset. This could be someone who doesn't start the things that they finish. And so it's like, especially if this is someone, close to you, it's like, how could you possibly accomplish or finish the things that you started when I was never able to do that? And, we're related. And so, again, this is one of those things. I'm now thankful that I can see through these things. See through, the gaslighting or the narcissism or the love bombing, or the pretending to be genuinely caring, kind, and concerned, but really manipulating behind the scenes. I'm glad I can see these things, right? Even the people who try to groom you, whether it be a married man trying to groom you, or of some other type of predator, um, trying to convince you that something that is not okay is okay. Again, whatever those situations might be. Or someone just, oh, there's nothing wrong with, I don't know, whatever it is. A lot of times when something's not right, a lot of people will say, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with so-and-so and such and such, because they're trying to convince you. They know it's wrong, but they're trying to convince you that it's okay, because they're trying to get you to let your guard down, right? And this happens a lot as well. And so again, as I sit here, I am just thankful that I've come such a long way. I am, as I've said before, a master certified life coach with a specialty in anger management. I also earned my ministerial certification to do weddings and funerals, although I have not officiated one. I did pursue it at a certain point, but I listed myself, but I never actually did it, performed one of the ceremonies. I would have loved to at least marry somebody at least once. I am also, again, a yogi, which is a certified yoga teacher. And that comes with so much, right? Learning how to breathe, learning the stretches, learning cleansing techniques, techniques to cleanse the body, like the nose, different parts. Having a sense of community, being of service, understanding that material things don't really mean anything. Sure, they're pleasant to have, but in the grand scheme of life, and I already knew this before, but once I became a yogi, my mindset almost completely shifted. And it's like, what does this all really mean? Why do we have all these things? Why do we have all this stuff? A lot of times people have a lot of stuff because they're either trying to impress somebody, or they're attempting to fill a void, and they don't realize they're filling a void. And people will get upset with other people because they may feel like, oh, this person has too many things, right? But they don't see that underlying reason. This is usually a very unhealed person, right? And I know that recently someone tried to compare me to someone in their life, and I'm not sure. A lot of people think that they know you, but they don't really know you. Over the years, I've consistently gotten rid of a lot of things. And although I may still have a lot of things, it's mainly clothes. I wear a uniform, so I don't get to wear some of my clothes as much. But I really don't have a whole lot of things. And this person says, oh, you need to go in your storage and start getting rid of stuff. But you're a procrastinator, so I know that you're not going to do it. And sometimes you can't take on what someone else says about you because that is their perception of you, and they have every right to perceive you as they wish, right? And again, they may not know where you started from, right? They may not know that although you may have 10 bags of clothes, you just got rid of 20 bags, or whatever it is. But what I have in storage is mainly shoes, clothes, and books. Except for I think 2 pieces of furniture and a washing machine, there's no furniture in my storage. I lived in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in North Carolina. I got rid of a lot of stuff before I moved to Georgia. Once I moved into the apartment that I was in, which was a 1-bedroom, I had to get rid of even more. So I've consistently been peeling back the layers and letting go of attachment to things, because I know that those, it's not necessarily important. Now what I can say is that I am a product junkie, and I became a product junkie because I'm constantly doing my best to find things that work for my hair. You might try something and you realize, oh, it's drying, or it just doesn't do what you want it to do. Like, it might make someone else's curls pop, and it might not necessarily do the same for me. Right? But again, we're not here to judge each other. I think that, again, a lot of times if somebody sees something similar in you that they that exists in someone else they know, there's a tendency to compare. And again, a lot of times people don't truly know you. Even if you tell them something about yourself, they're really not paying attention. They're not listening unless they feel like they have to, or, they're invested in some kind of way. Because a lot of times people have preconceived notions of who they think you are, and they a lot of times don't change their mind about that. They go with what they think. They don't ask questions. They just make assumptions, and they think they know you, and they think they have you all figured out. And so you have to encounter those things as well. But again, we're not here to judge. We allow people to think whatever they want to think. And who cares? What someone else thinks about you is none of your business. You don't have to prove anything to them. You don't have to explain anything to them. And a lot of times people may get upset because it's like, oh, why is this person sneaky? Or this person is secretive. You have a right to be private. You don't have to explain anything. Let people think whatever they want to think, and you don't have to care. And that's not to dismiss them as a person or dismiss what they're saying, but it shouldn't be that important to you. Right? Even if this is someone that you're close to. And again, this is not to dismiss them or what they're saying, and it's not to invalidate them, or you may even agree with the person, right? If you want to. But basically what I'm saying is you don't have to take on that label that they've placed on you and make it Like, oh, this person said this about me, so that means this, or that means other people think. Don't do that to yourself, right? You know who you are. You know how you are. You know why you do the things that you do. And if you don't, maybe you can sit with yourself and figure those things out. But a lot of times people on the outside looking in will have a completely different perception, because a lot of times, again, people are not asking questions, or they're not truly getting to know you. There's just this surface level relationship. And people think that they have you all figured out, especially if the things that you do or say are similar to someone else they know. And it may not even be the same situation or scenario at all. Now, it was funny because I was thinking that I need to clean out my storage because of the situation that I was dealing with. I kind of packed in a rush, and I have a lot of stuff in bags, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So I need to get some boxes and some storage bins and kind of go through the clothing items that I'm going to keep, and those things that I want to donate, and just clean it up and make it, neater. And that'll allow me to find, because I'm constantly going in my storage to find things. Excuse me. So this will make it easier for me to find things when I need them, because I'm missing my books, right? I really am ready to have my books where they are easily accessible, so that when I'm ready to look up something or read something, that I can just put my hands on it, because I'm not used to not being able to do that. But outside of that, like I said, the clothing items, I just need to organize them in such a way that I can, find some of the things that I'm looking for easier, without having to open, different bags or boxes. I need some more wardrobe boxes, and again, some storage bins and some regular boxes, so that I can organize things better and find the things that I need easier. But I am so, life is good. It's not about things, right? The joy that I have inside. I know people who have so many things, these big houses, these fancy cars, and they are miserable. And they're somewhere judging me, like, oh, who does she think she is? How can she be happy? She need to do this and she need to do that. Somewhere judging me. Right? As if life is about all these things, right? When it's really not. And again, they, remain unhealed. They're judging me, or judging someone, not just necessarily me. But again, people don't understand how you could have joy when you don't have all these things, or when you're not in the same situation as they're in, or whatever the case may be, right? And I think I've shared that a lot of people are intimidated by me. And I got proof of that a few years ago when I applied to a credit union. And I can still see proof of it. I've had a few different jobs. And people who don't have the same level of education, or once they just see how intelligent I am, or whatever the case may be, they start to change and act funny towards me. Like, what are you doing here? You infiltrated our industry. They'll intentionally try to block me from certain positions because they want people they can talk down to, or feel like they're better than or above. Right? And because I don't bow down to them or put them on a pedestal or validate them in the way that they want. Or one, manager said that she was afraid that I would take her job. So that's another thing that people are afraid of. I don't understand that mentality at all. How can someone take a job that you already have? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. If people will abuse their authority or abuse their power if you make them feel insecure or intimidated. And then they'll make it seem like it's your fault that you're not doing better. Or they'll say, oh, well, you mean to tell me that $16 an hour is not good enough for you? Like, what are you doing with your money? In this, and it's not even about the economy, but again, they'll make it seem like, oh, you should be doing better with your $16 an hour. That should just be good enough. In the meantime, like, the average one bedroom is like $1,100, $1,200 a month. And they know this, but they'll still make it seem like it's your fault, and a lot of people are one illness, one injury, one incident. Like, I was at somewhere at a cafeteria, and the lady was talking about how much money she had to spend on this car that she had and how it set her back, right? I had a couple people recently who kind of got sick and they couldn't go work. For the people who don't have a spouse, that can dramatically change your life. But again, people don't take that into consideration. They will still make it seem like it's your fault. They don't know anything about you. They don't know your situation, right? There are people who have supportive family members or friends, and there are some people who do not. We used to operate as more of a community at one point. But that's, especially after COVID, that's almost non-existent nowadays. And so again, people don't know anything about you, but they will make these assumptions. And God forbid, like how a guy will say, oh, I'm not paying her child support because she's going to get her hair and her nails done, as if she doesn't have her own income to pay bills. She just going to take the portion that you give her and get her hair and her nails done. It's really not about getting the hair and the nails done. It's about making yourself attractive to someone else when you're no longer with this person. And this makes this person upset because they, a lot of times they still want you to be there. They thought you were going to be, always be there for them to use and abuse you if that was the situation. Right? So God forbid you get your nails or your hair done or something. People would, no matter what happens, people will judge you, whether you're doing well, whether you're doing what they think you should do, or you're not doing what they think. They're going to talk about you. So again, what people think about you should not matter to the point where it influences how you feel about you, what you think about you. right? We should be in a place where we are loving ourselves. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. I don't understand why. And a lot of people think that they love themselves, but they don't, because they do a lot of things to abuse themselves because it was done to them at a younger age. So they're continuing the cycle in their own life. A lot of people are with people that are repeating the same cycle because they've accepted, like, oh, well, my so-and-so did it, so this is just how life is. Like how, someone could be dating a woman who gets all in their face and wants to fight them and all of these different things. Oh, well, my mom was a yeller and my mother used to do that, so this is okay. Even though it's not. But again, I said all this to say that I'm so thankful that I've taken off the rose-colored glasses and I can see through a lot of things that people, just, are still accepting, and they don't realize that it's unacceptable and that it's not okay and that they can do something different. And you don't have to take on other people's fears and insecurities or judgment and criticism. And, one of the things that was done to me is like, oh, well, if you don't want to listen to me, then I'm not going to help you, or I'm not going to be there for you, or I'm not going to this and that. Okay, that's fine. We all have free will, and you have a right to choose whatever it is that you want to choose. If it upsets you that, I don't listen to you and do what you want me to do, that is unfortunate. Because again, that's not what we're here for. No one is required to listen to you or do what you say do just because you want them to. We all have free will. And so again, that's one of those things that's ungodly, when someone tries to force you to do something that you don't really want to do just so that they can be there for you or help you or whatever the case may be. That's manipulation. It's narcissism. And it's not right. It's not okay. It's mental and emotional abuse, potentially even financial abuse, depending on the situation. And so again, I'm so thankful that in my 51 years, have been able to see through the nonsense and still love myself, still be in a healed place where I can smile and actually have true joy regardless of any situation or circumstance. And I can show grace to those people who are unable to do that, or who are not ready, willing, or ready or willing to do that, because some people know that they need to, but they just refuse to for whatever reason. Again, it's not easy to be in that healing place and go through the emotions and allow those emotions to come up and cry through them, write through them, whatever it is that you need to get it out, to become a better person, to become a genuinely joyful person who, although you may be triggered, you respond instead of react. Right? As always, love y'all.